We're here and joined by Mr. Corey Evans. He's the account executive and a broker for an insurance company that's been 3 generations in Brampton. It's called CCV Insurance, and they've opened up a new division and a new branch, and Corey is the cheerleader at the head of the parade. And it's all about marijuana awareness, and it's about how you as an employer will have to deal with this come October 17th. Corey, thanks for coming.
Pleasure to be here.
It's a very unique sector that you're in, and it's something that's very new that started. How did you ever decide that was going to be something that you were going to look at?
Well, it's a great question. As an insurance broker, one of the things that we always strive for is to look for new and emerging risks, right? So we're always hungry to look at, what's up and coming in the economy, what's going to be a new and emerging risk for business owners. So when we caught wind of cannabis legalization in Canada, that was definitely something that we wanted to, spearhead and jump right into and be a leader in within the community and within the insurance.
So the insurance business is all about mitigating risk. How do you make it so that an employer would say, I need to insure my employees, and what kind of risk am I up against if we consider that some of my employees may have smoked marijuana before they come to work or may still be high? How do you use a baseline? Because every insurance company has to use a baseline. What facts and figures, and are you using some of the states in America as an example to decide what you're going to cost it out as and what your risk is?
There hasn't been much in terms of benchmarking yet. We haven't turned to the states because, like you mentioned in your introduction, it hasn't been completely federally regulated yet. So
it's still a federal offense. That's something about traveling. It's still a federal offense in the United States to be in possession of marijuana, regardless if it's a state that has it legalized. That is a state statute, but federally in the United States, it's still illegal.
It is, absolutely, 100%. And that poses a lot of challenges here in Canada because we rely on a lot of North American insurance companies to provide capacity and provide insurance solutions for our customers. So when we found out that Canada is going to be legalizing marijuana, we knew that the market capacity was going to be quite restricted in terms of who's going to offer up.
So when you say capacity, just to clarify, you are a broker, 3 generations here in Brampton. You're someone that someone will go to for personalized service, customized service. You still have to take that package of risk that person brings to you that they wish to be insured, and you have to take it to a larger institution that has greater financial power to be able to pass that risk off, so they're not as much at risk and you're not as much at risk. So there's a little bit of profit in it. Obviously, you're not in this for funsies. But how does that other insurer determine what that risk level is and a price point that you can work with?
Best in class is the term that we usually use. So best in class being, what companies are going to have the strongest policies currently in place already. So whether that's drug and alcohol policy or fitness for work policy, right, those type of policies. So it's really about best in class policies already in place.
So when you talk about risk and you talk about best in class, Air Canada, for instance, today said that they're safety critical. It's all about their employees, then including pilots and flight attendants will not be able to consume cannabis at any time. WestJet has followed suit with a similar policy. So they're already rolling this out. Correction Canada says frontline workers, they can't be smoking marijuana 24 hours before reporting for work. I mean, today, if you catch the news, Toronto police said that it has to be 28 days before working as a police officer. I mean, that's ridiculous. And there's several other in the Army, for the Department of National Defense, that for certain machine operations, et cetera, 28 days. How much of a risk are employers in store for with this coming?
If they don't address it head on and be upfront and transparent about it, they could be at a huge risk. Occupational health and safety, human rights tribunals. There's lots of legislation out there that poses risk to these business owners.
So if an employee has decided upon themselves to smoke marijuana or take cannabis when they are actually working, they would then put the company in jeopardy, and the company then has to have a level of insurance to be able to combat or underwrite any claims against them. where does the responsibility fly on the actual employee? If you're an employer, you're kind of going, okay, I've got to insure for this. If I have somebody who screws up and if they find out that he's high, they're going to sue me or the company, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of things can an employer do to at least set some boundaries, or what kind of rules can you put in to kind of help your insurance, if it would be?
Sure. What we tell our clients is always open lines of communication. You always want to be provide a vehicle or a method for employees to feel comfortable to talk to their human resources department or talk to their management about these concerns. We don't want the worst thing you can do as an employer is to put fear into your employee. You want them to be able to feel comfortable to bring these issues to you.
So HR standards is one thing that you're involved in. How do you work with an employer to establish HR standards that are relevant to this new emerging circumstance of marijuana and cannabis?
Yeah, great question. The good thing is that impairment is and drug and alcohol policies have already been in place, right? So this is just a spin off that, and
an extension, if you will.
An extension of that, and it's really just, you know, cannabis was always part of considered a drug in most drug and alcohol policies.
Well, coffee's considered a drug too.
So it's really about annual reviews, updating these policies, having breakout sessions with your employees to really engage in discussion and get a good feel about who could possibly be using this, who has used it, who's thinking about using it, all those type of things.
So the LCBO, the Liquor Control Board of Ontario, is where we buy our alcohol. Just because the Liquor Control Board of Ontario is in existence, it is in no way promoting alcoholism. We have multiple casinos and places where you can gamble and lotteries if you wish to partake. That doesn't mean that they are promoting that they want you to be addicted to gaming. Just because cannabis is now available. And I really want to caveat that there's more people that are going to use it for medical use than those who are going to sit there to try and get a buzz on and watch a hockey game. How do you work with an employer to discuss the responsibility that employees have when they come to work? Because, for instance, this is a pen, right? And this is a pen. The difference is that this pen contains marijuana oil in it. And this pen, if you take a hit of it and you expunge the smoke, you don't smell the marijuana. But for all intents and purposes, surreptitiously during work, you could consume marijuana with this pen. Is that an infringement on your rights if you're not using machinery? How do you cross that bridge?
There's going to be a lot of gray area. We're anticipating a lot of gray space for the first couple months of legalization, but it ultimately is going to come down to having a clear expectation for that employee, clearly defining what their role is and whether impairment would be permitted or not.
Well, you can't drive a bus, don't do machinery, and for God's sakes, don't clean your gun. I mean, any of those things you would think, any level of impairment that could alter your sense of good judgment. I'm surprised your phone isn't ringing off the hook. If I was an employer, I'd be scared to bits, because I can't stop this from coming into my business. If I can't smell it and can't see it, how am I going to know? But I'm still liable, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what kind of policies are you offering?
The one policy that we're offering to employers now is a legal assist insurance. So what that is free legal advice to legal representatives, usually Monday to Friday, set business hours. Business owners can call these helplines and get free legal advice for anything like employment disputes, anything like that, and they can get free advice. And the great thing about this is often it's included as part of the policy, and it doesn't impact your policy as part of a claim.
And Corey, what are you insuring against? Obviously you have car insurance in case you get into a car accident or some ninny hits you. What are you seeing as a typical insurance request from a manufacturer or a business owner coming to CCV Insurance?
It's definitely the product's liability. Being one of them. So anybody that gets sick or injured from smoking or consuming cannabis is going to be one of their biggest exposures. The OCS has put a requirement for these manufacturers, distributors, to carry a minimum of 5 million to 15
but that's
million.
Really, I mean, if you are a waitress, I mean, you remember all those lawsuits? The waitress who never smoked, who got lung cancer because she was working in a bar where there was a lot of smoke. Mm-hmm. You're not saying that you're gonna condone the use of marijuana in a workplace. There is a sense of responsibility to the employee themselves, but now we're getting into the point where the actual business has to insure themselves in case stuff happens. That's a slippery. So as I said, I'm surprised the phone isn't ringing off the hook, Corey, because it's like, oh my goodness, how do we do this? With about 2 minutes left, I want to give you an opportunity to speak to the folks at home and tell them what they should be thinking about, because you could do it more succinctly than me asking questions, because this is such a new and burgeoning market and frontier.
Mm-hmm. So I would say the first thing is you really want to take a review of your current policies. You know, get them updated, take a look at what your current policies have included in them, make sure that they're up to date. And the most important part is to have employee feedback as well. A lot of the time that we see these employers, they come up with policies, they come up with or guidelines or procedures, and they don't get the employees engaged. And that's a big pitfall for us, or a downfall, is that they don't get the employees engaged. They don't get that critical feedback that they need to develop the policies that are going to really, you know, be best suited for their business. So that's one. The three things that are going to impact employers are going to be safety, absenteeism. You know, we all know what happens when you smoke a little bit of cannabis. Yeah. You get less motivated. You don't want to show up to work as often.
Get the munchies.
And productivity, right?
Yeah. Corey Evans, he's from CCV Insurance in Brampton, 3 generations supplying insurance, and he's talking about marijuana insurance and how we're going to have to deal with that. We'd like to thank Brampton Focus, Don McLeod and Fazil Khan for putting this together. My name is Michael A. Charbon. We invite you to join us for our next portion, which will be another version where we're going to talk a little bit more about locations and where these dispensaries will be and how your municipality will be affected. I'm Michael A. Charbon. Thanks for watching. Look forward to seeing you again.